Happy Saturday. I'm Dr. Malia Jensen, and you've landed on my live Q&A. So this is Dr. J's Prescription for Health, live question and answer, and I'm your host, Dr. Malia Jensen, and this is Tucker. Tucker is co-hosting from heaven. So this is Tucker, and he sits on my desk, and I get to spend time with him. Today is a special day. Maybe not for you, but it is for me. It's my birthday. And I want to thank every one of you guys for being here. I know you could do other things on a Saturday, but you're spending time with me on my birthday, and that means a lot to me. So, first, I just want to start off. I don't know if you guys have ever read out of Matthew chapter 5. Jesus is talking. Jesus is talking about the salt and light. So he's talking about salt and light. And since my birthday is May 16th, so 5:16, so I went to Matthew 5:16. And in Matthew 5:16, Jesus is talking about salt and light. He says, "Let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven." And so today, um, hopefully you guys can see my light. I try to shine my light on a daily basis. Of course, that is sometimes difficult, but maybe you guys could think about shining your light. And it's not really for anybody to see but yourself. I am doing a live fundraiser for Rescue Rehab and Rehome. I am live on Instagram and YouTube right now. So those of you who are on YouTube, it is in the description, the link to donate to Rescue Rehab and Rehome. It's a rescue that is dear to my heart. It's where I got my Norman Tallow. And yeah, it means a lot to me. For those of you who are on Instagram, the live link is actually right there on your screen. So click that. My goal was to raise $100 this month, but I've already overcome that, and I guess we'll go for 200. So we're sitting at $131 and some change. So if you guys, even a dollar would help, it means a lot to me. And hopefully you will find joy in your heart by giving as well. So good morning, Lucy. Lucy is my blue shield, my moderator over on YouTube. For those of you who are on right now on YouTube and Instagram, if you can hit that thumbs up, I would appreciate it. Today, I thought we would, yeah, slam that thumbs up for me. I'd appreciate it. So this morning, I thought we would review a bit on thyroid. It seems like this is a tough subject for people, and even tougher for people to explain to their doctor, which is really a shame. But at least you guys can have a good grasp on it, okay? When we talk about thyroid, it's important that we know how to check to see if our thyroid is functioning correctly. And by simply getting a TSH, this does not help us, okay? It is a screening tool at best. To get a full description of your thyroid, you want to get the following, and maybe Lucy, if you could type this into the chats over there, and maybe Jana, since you just joined on, maybe you could put it in the chat, but you want to get a TSH, okay? You want to get a TSH, a free T3, a free T3. You want to get a free T4. You also want to get a reverse T3. It's called a reverse T3. Another one is a TG and a TPO. Those are capitals, TG and TPO. We need all of those in order to figure out what, if anything, is going on with our thyroid. So if maybe Lucy is in on this right now, she could type that for us: a TSH, a free T3, a free T4, a reverse T3, a TG, and a TPO. Yes, perfect. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you. And if Jana or somebody else was listening on Instagram, I would appreciate if you could do that over there as well. And good morning, Viviana. Thank you for being here. So hit the thumbs up, you guys. I'd appreciate it. Why is it important to check these markers? Well, for many reasons. One, you might not be feeling very good, but two, to kind of capitalize on what I want to share with you is in regards to cholesterol. We have today, most of you have been taught the lipid hypothesis of coronary artery disease. The lipid hypothesis of coronary artery disease. And I want to share with you that there is another hypothesis. Hypotheses aren't written in stone. And so we have to expand our brain a little bit and look outside of something that you might have been indoctrinated with for 30, 40 years. And the other hypothesis that I just want to bring to your attention is the thrombogenic hypothesis of heart attacks and strokes. I'm not here to tell you that cholesterol, certain kinds of cholesterol is not of importance, but there's some metabolic problems that make our cholesterol worse. And if our thyroid is off, meaning hypothyroid, for instance, low thyroid function, we can get ourselves into trapped in a corner, so to speak, and it throws off our cholesterol. The reason I want you guys to get a reverse T3 is because reverse T3 looks just like free T3. Reverse T3 can block the T3 receptors on cells. Why is this important? Because we need T3 to activate everything. T3 is the active form of thyroid. Reverse T3 is like a brake. It blocks the T3 receptor, and then the things that require thyroid hormone in our body, which is a lot, isn't able to function. Okay. Let me give you an example of what T3 does. If when we're talking about cholesterol, having enough T3, first, let's back up. Our thyroid produces thyroid hormone. Our brain releases TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. So our brain senses if we need thyroid hormone in our body. So our brain releases TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, to tell our thyroid to produce thyroid hormones. Our thyroid will produce 100% of our T4, and it will produce about 20% of our T3. The remainder of the T3, the other 80%, is converted from T4 to T3, and that happens in the periphery, like the kidneys or the liver. The liver is the main site for conversion of T4 to T3. Now, if our body is in a metabolic disturbance, what does that mean? An example would be you have insulin resistance, or you have diabetes, or you have some sort of inflammation going on in your body, which could be related to the first two, but you're metabolically not doing very well. So your T4 doesn't convert to T3 like it should. It converts to reverse T3, which is basically the brake. So when reverse T3 is high on your panel, like greater than 15, I'm just going to throw out that number, although there's somebody, another practitioner who uses 11 as a cutoff. So high T3, or excuse me, high reverse T3 occurs in situations where you could have SIBO, you could have small intestinal bowel overgrowth. So bacterial overgrowth. So small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. You could have iron dysregulation. You could have inflammation, as I mentioned. You could have insulin resistance, high insulin. You could have metabolic syndrome, which includes high insulin. You could have high cortisol. You could have some sort of chronic illness. But high insulin is far and away one of the easiest things that we can reverse, okay? And that would probably help your SIBO as well. Reverse T3 blocks the T3 receptors. We need active T3 to upregulate receptors on the liver that take LDL out of your bloodstream. So if you have low thyroid function, hypothyroid, this could elevate your LDL cholesterol in the blood because low thyroid decreases the amount of receptors on the liver that receive the LDL out of the bloodstream. Remember, if you have 100 LDLs in the bloodstream and only 10 doors, then you have a problem and more LDL stays in the bloodstream. So we want active thyroid. We want a thyroid that's working. We want a thyroid that is working and producing enough T3, okay, that will help upregulate the LDL receptors on the liver cells, okay? If we have low thyroid, it also increases another protein in our blood that's called PCSK9. It's a protein that its job is actually to destroy LDL receptors. And it's not really that it destroys them. It inactivates them once they do their job and take LDL up. So we should have a little bit of PCSK9, but not a lot. So when we have low thyroid, low thyroid, when there's not enough T3, we actually upregulate PCSK9. Well, that is actually decreasing LDL receptors as well. So thyroid, low T3 downregulates LDL receptors and increases PCSK9, which destroys LDL receptors. So now you have, instead of 10 receptors on the cell membranes, you got 5, and you got 100 LDLs out in the bloodstream. I'm making those numbers up to give you an analogy. So this is why thyroid function is so important when dealing with our cholesterol. Another thing that thyroid does is it helps to support an enzyme, and it's called cytochrome P7A1. You don't need to know that, but in order for cholesterol to be converted into bile, you need this active enzyme that helps convert the cholesterol to the bile. Why is that important? Because the bile is how we get rid of extra cholesterol. So T3 is kind of the rate limiting step for this enzyme. If we don't have enough T3, we can't get that enzyme to convert cholesterol to bile. Now you got even more cholesterol being recirculated back into the blood. I'm hoping all of this makes sense. Is when that LDL is in the circulation for long periods of time, now it can get oxidized, you guys. It's sitting out in the open where it can get damaged by glycation or iron or a lot of different things can cause oxidation of LDLs, turning them into these small, dense LDLs. Remember when I said that cholesterol is not the lipid hypothesis is not the only thing, but I'm not disregarding the cholesterol hypothesis because small, dense LDLs are a thing, as are LP little a's. They are a thing that can worsen our risk for heart attacks and strokes. When we another thing that low thyroid, the low thyroid is so important when it comes to cholesterol, you guys. Low thyroid leads to higher homocysteine. You might have heard about homocysteine. A lot of you are starting to check for it. It's a risk factor for heart attacks and strokes. A lot of times homocysteine is related to low B12 or low folate, okay? But homocysteine can also be elevated in people with hypothyroidism. And homocysteine is is like sandpaper to the endothelial lining of the arteries, okay? Homocysteine is like sandpaper. It injures the inner lining of the arteries. This is where that thrombogenic hypothesis comes into play, is that anytime we damage the endothelium, the inner lining of our arteries, we form a blood clot. That is our soft plaque. If we were to throw that blood clot to our heart or our brain, we get a heart attack or a brain attack called a stroke. So yes, it's in our best interest to lower homocysteine. Yes, it's in our best interest to limit the oxidized LDL. If our thyroid is the cause, it's so simple, fix the thyroid. If reverse T3 is elevated, a lot of you guys watch my reel on reverse T3. Even though I think I explained it very well, many of you came back and said, well, how do we fix it? Well, if you have high reverse T3, and one of the main reasons that you have high reverse T3 is insulin resistance, then fixing insulin resistance is the answer. How do you fix insulin resistance? Lower blood sugar. How do you lower blood sugar? Lower or no carbohydrates. It's all metabolically related. I am not in a silo like a cardiologist where they're saying, um, treat your LDL on a piece of paper and your risks of heart attacks and strokes go down. That's that is not that's not the case, okay? We don't where I don't function in a silo and neither do you. All of the systems work together. But since we've advanced medicine in such a way that we have a lung doctor and a heart doctor and an endocrine doctor and a general doctor, and you got your GI doctor and your breast doctor and your gynecological doctor and your urology doctor. You see what I'm saying? They are working in a silo, and I don't think they're all working together. And that's a shame. So that leaves you out in the brush trying to figure out all of this. And I commend each of you for coming here every weekend and listening to me chit chat about health and basically being your own doctor. I'm teaching you to be your own doctor. You've never likely had a good doctor. You've trusted your doctor to give you every piece of information that is in their brain, and they don't, or their brain is empty. I'm not sure which is which. It is now up to you with informed consent to ask questions. You cannot, I I, I implore you not to simply just trust your doctor. Don't just trust me, okay? I'm bringing to you more information that you might not have heard that can help you ask your doctor more questions. And if they dismiss you, I suggest that that is not the doctor for you. we have held doctors to such high standards and basically as if their shit poop does not stink. It does. We all put our clothes on the exact same way as everybody else. Okay. We eat, we drink, we smell the air, we do all the things just like you. We should not be held at any higher standard than anyone else. Okay. Um, I think I told you that the liver is the main organ that converts T4 to T3. I think it's like something like 80%. So, you guys, if the liver is doing 80% of the conversion of T4 to active T3, do you think that we need a functioning liver? And the answer is yes. We destroy our livers with either alcohol and fructose and high glucose in our diets. Why is that a problem? Because sugar increases insulin, glucose increases insulin. Insulin promotes fat, it makes fat cells fatter. Insulin is a growth hormone. So when we are consuming high amounts of sugar, glucose, fructose, lactose, all of the sugars, we increase insulin. When we increase insulin, we risk getting fatty liver disease, fatty tongue, fatty heart, fatty skin, fatty every other organ, fat. When our liver is fatty, he's not working very well. He's actually choking. He's choking on his fat, and he can get hard and fibrotic and inflamed, and you can get cirrhotic, which is basically death of liver cells. So, do you think that a fatty liver is going to be converting very much T4 to T3? No. He's barely trying to survive getting rid of the fat all over him and in him. He's pushing out a ton of VLDLs. He's trying to get rid of, he's choking, and the liver, I call him a he, who knows? I just say that. I probably call every organ a he, but whatever. Okay, you can call it she. She is struggling, okay? And it can't breathe and it can't function. And it's trying to get rid of the fat. And you guys, maybe not you guys listening to me, but people out there continue to eat crapola, my word. And it's my birthday, so I can use that word. And yes, it is a definition in my head. Okay. Crapola is a crappy diet. It's full of seed oils and sugar and processed foods. And that encourages high sugar, high insulin, eventually insulin resistance, fatty liver, fatty pancreas, fatty heart, fatty eyeballs, fatty everything. That's what I got for you guys today. It's my birthday. Do you guys have questions? Do you want me to help you understand what, is there anything else that just went? Um, Mr. Guy says that, thank you, Melanie. Mr. Guy says he fasts 24 hours once a week, follows a strict diet. I don't know what that is. Exercises. I don't know what that is. And maintains a strict sleep schedule. Again, I don't know what that is, but it must work for Mr. Guy. Thank you, Touch of Wood. It is my birthday. Thank you so much for being here. Please hit the thumbs up, hit the like, hit the hearts, hit all of that stuff. There's live fundraiser on Instagram right now for my birthday. Rescue Rehab Rehome. It's where I got my Norman Tallow, and it means a lot to me. I really would appreciate you, even if it's $1, I would really appreciate you giving. For those of you who are on YouTube right now, it's in the description. So, yeah, it's my birthday. Please help me celebrate. I hope it brings joy to my heart to support this rescue or any rescues, okay? This one is just near and dear to my heart. I'm hoping that you'll also find joy in wishing me a happy birthday and by giving to this rescue, which means a lot to me, okay? If I didn't have that rescue, I would not have tallow. And there's so many dogs that are out on the streets or cats just living and they need a loving home. And sometimes people can't give the loving home, but they can give a couple dollars to help bring these dogs into a shelter and find them a foster home or find them a adoptable home like myself where I did that, and to get these dogs off the street, get them, I hate to say it, but get them neutered or spayed. I'm not always a big fan, but maybe I don't know. I don't know the answer, but you know, the tallow came from Oklahoma. It seems that Oklahoma is a kill state, and if they find animals on the street, if they kept them in a shelter for 30 days, then they get put down unless they get adopted out. And Iowa is huge for bringing these animals out of these states. I don't know what other states, but you guys, Iowa, it seems to accept all strays, because I guess we have big hearts here and we don't kill the animals. So we'll put them in shelters. I mean, I read about animals all the time that have been in a shelter for 3, 4, 5 years. And yeah, at least they're not getting killed and they have a better life than living on the street. But let's find homes for these dogs and let's help Rescue Rehab and Rehome save more of these dogs off the street for for gluttons like myself who ends up having 12 dogs, okay? Um, all right. Lucy says, oh yeah, yeah, those are the blood markers you need to check. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. If you put a Q in front of it. Wes says, how do you inject trenbolone acetate properly? I don't know. Let's see. Well, I'm helping you out, Lucy. It looks like you're quite busy over there. Trying to read through the tests. Anne says, I have printed lab request, Canada. It only has 2 lines for TSH and TSH progressive. Not sure what that is. Quest does progressive panel measure, T3, reverse autoimmune, etc. Good, that's what you need. Mm. Cameron says, as a nurse of 22 years, I'm very interested in how you're explaining this. Thank you, Cameron. Let me know if you have a question. It's sometimes it can be very complicated, but if I try my hardest to keep everything as simple as possible. Um, Nin says your perspective is much better than any doctor I've ever personally met, and you certainly understand that our doctors are not properly informed on how to adequately treat a variety of conditions. I would agree with that. It is unfortunate. I used to be one of those doctors. Um, I can't explain it to you. I don't expect you to give me a pass by any means because it was what it was. I went to medical school. I went to a DO medical school, an osteopathic medical school. I took an MD residency. I took an MD boards. I took MD boards. They're all the same. And I believed what I was taught. And I did not I did not do enough reading outside of what I was taught to read. Yes, we do continuing medical education, but the continuing medical education is the exact same information that we were given in medical school and residency. It's written by the exact same people. The curriculum is written by the exact same people. So if you continue to do continuing medical education, you're actually just continuing the exact same things that you were taught in medical school or residency or beyond, because that's all I knew. And I thought I was being taught correctly. And then some patients brought other things to my attention, and I started reading outside of the box. And then I started wondering if I was wrong about everything that I had learned for the prior 30 years, okay? And that is humbling, and that is frustrating, and that makes me angry, and it makes me sad, it makes me want to cry, and it makes me feel like I might have hurt people because I was ignorant. And is it ignorance? Ignorosis? Truly ignorosis? I'm not sure. Is it laziness? Possibly. Is it them keeping us so busy seeing patients that we can't read anything else but the what part that they put in front of us? None of it is an excuse. Neither is it an excuse for you guys to listen to us and take every word at face value, that we would never lie to you, or we would tell you everything that we know. And we don't tell you everything we know, and we might not even know what we know. So that means you guys need to educate yourself. Many of you are smarter than many doctors I know. Okay. You don't have to go to medical school to learn this stuff. In fact, you don't want to go to medical school because you won't learn this stuff. You won't learn truth. Okay. First Thessalonians 5:21 to 22 says, test everything, examine everything carefully, hold fast to that which is good, and abstain from that which is evil. The Bible tells us to test everything. The Bible tells us to examine everything carefully. The Bible tells us to hold fast to that which is good and abstain to that from that which is evil. The Bible tells us this. Even if you're not a Bible believer, it still tells us this. But in real life, you guys need to test everything, examine everything carefully. Don't just accept everybody's word for stuff. Thank you, Cameron, for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Right. Thank you, Lucy. As a reminder, you guys, my disclaimer, and I am a physician. I'm a family practice physician, but I'm not your doctor. You are not my patients. This is not medical advice. None of this is medical advice. It's for information purposes only. I'm trying to feed your brain, and I'm trying to get you to start thinking logically. I'm trying to get you guys to test everything, to examine everything carefully, and to hold fast to that which is true. How do you know which is true? If you guys have a gut feeling that something is not right, it's likely not right. And that is your indication to start exercising your reading skills and looking stuff up. Um, Miss G, I think whatever MS, we're gonna put that one away there, Lucy, okay? Rupert says, I have fatty liver and extreme insulin resistance. Okay, now that you know that, what are you going to do with that information? You going to just continue on? If that's the case, then good luck with it. Thank you, Lucy, for the birthday wishes. Lucy, I know that you don't have, you're still giving me a little bit of options here for people to stay on and listen, but I might help you out here a little bit. Rupert says, my new doctor says my insulin resistance gives me the high LDL. Your insulin resistance gives you high VLDL. Your insulin resistance is increasing your triglycerides. Your insulin resistance is causing fatty liver disease. Your liver is choking on itself. Its own fat is choking it out. And so, Rupert, you need to make some dietary changes. You have caused your fatty liver disease, nothing else, okay? You. Mm. Yeah, and then that was a good Bible verse, isn't it? It's one of the many that I remember by heart in First Thessalonians 5:21 to 22. It it makes me it makes me happy, and it gives me guidance. Good, Rupert. Rupert's going no carbs and stop drinking alcohol. So Rupert is going to stop poisoning the liver. Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate the birthday wishes. That means a lot to me. It's a Saturday. It's sunny here so far, and I think we got rain overnight. All right. Lucy, did I miss any questions? Let's see. Thank you, Richard. Richard says we should all be happy on your birthday because you are a gift to all of us. I am a gift from the Lord above. He blessed each of us from him. So, Richard, you're a blessing. I'm a blessing. And we should find joy in things that, God gave us these fruits. Okay. I think that my fruit is the ability to teach. At least I think that. I feel that God gave me a skill of teaching, a tool of teaching. I love to teach. I love to explain. It just so happens that I love to explain medical stuff. In fact, I love to explain medical stuff that I was gullible enough to believe, and now I want to try to reverse that. Okay. And sometimes my medical stuff goes into diet and lifestyle, like exercise and sleep and getting out in the sun and walking in nature and having dogs. By the way, there's a live fundraiser for Rescue Rehab and Rehome on Instagram. Please donate $1. Please hit the like button and the thumbs up and the hearts and all of that. Um, you guys want to finish off and talk about cholesterol? We have a lot to talk about when it comes to cholesterol and having a heart attack. I know for a fact that you guys are afraid of having a heart attack, which I understand because it's the number one killer is to just have a heart attack. My thought process is if I do have a heart attack, I hope it's like that. Okay. But I can't hope that because I'm not in charge of that. So what I want to do is to do the best I can to prevent having a heart attack. And so if I truly believe now in the lipid hypothesis is not accurate, that it's the thrombogenic hypothesis, then I'm going to do everything in my power not to worry about saturated fat and cholesterol. I'm going to do everything in my power to preserve my hoses in my body, which is the arteries. Okay. Just like you preserve your car, your body is just as important. The hoses, the arteries can go bad, and things we do cause those arteries to go bad. And it starts with the innermost lining of the artery, the part that's closest to your bloodstream. Things flow through the arteries to get to places. That's how we function. If we have injury to the lining of the arteries, then our body's natural instinct is to repair that. And in order, just like if our skin on the outside here was the inner lining of your artery, if I cut my skin, the mechanism of healing that is to form a blood clot. And then our body also has the ability over time to dissolve the blood clot. And then our skin appears perfect again. If I were to, if I cut myself and I form a blood clot, and then I continue to cut myself, that blood clot can never resolve because it's a chronic injury. If you are exposing your lining of your arteries to things that injure it, like high insulin, like high blood sugar, like um, seed oils, like alcohol, smoking, stress, lots of things can injure the lining of our artery. When that injury occurs, a clot forms, and over time it should heal, but we don't allow it to heal. We continue to be naughty to the inner lining of our arteries. And so that blood clot over time can calcify. But the whole blood clot doesn't calcify. Sometimes just the lid, just the cap calcifies. And yeah, that is better than just having an exposed blood clot, but it's not really answering the problem of the chronic injury. Even if you put a cap over it, that blood clot, the core could actually still break loose, go to your brain, go to your heart, and have a heart attack or a brain attack, which is a stroke. What we want to do if we have that lid with the core is to try to resolve the core, try to resolve the blood clot. And we can do that by stopping the injury and allowing our own immune system to drain the remaining core blood clot. That's possible, but you've likely never been taught that. And I have never been taught that. I did not know this. Okay. I thought if you have a blood clot and it calcifies, then we're done. That's like that's a death sentence because over time the lid, the cap gets thicker and thicker and thicker, and eventually it closes up an artery. Now, if we were to take a cross section of that plaque and we dissect it out and we look underneath the microscope, we would find that there's cholesterol in there, LDL particles, and platelets, and other debris, white blood cells and red blood cells. We're going to find all of that. But that didn't cause your clogged up artery, your heart attack. Okay. The injury did. And not just one injury, two, three, 400, 1,000 injuries to the same area. Usually, these areas that get injured are in an area under high pressure, usually a fork in the road. So it's very, you got this, and then all of a sudden it forks out. So right here, where before it forks out, that is high turbulence, high pressure. Does high blood pressure injure our arteries? Absolutely. How do you get high blood pressure? The most common cause? Thank you. I don't, who gave me that? Please. Thank you. Tanya, thank you for giving. I appreciate that. That's a great birthday present. Tanya gave me a super chat, super sticker thingamajigger. I appreciate that. Thank you for the $10, Tanya. That means a lot. So, what is the most common cause of high blood pressure? Doctors call it essential hypertension. It's essential means I don't know. Okay. It means idiopathic. I don't know. Because essential would say we are meant to have high blood pressure, and we're not. But high blood pressure, the most common cause is high insulin. Why? Because of salt and water retention. We're increasing our own pressure, and then it hits a turbulent fork in the road and irritates it as it's going through. So it is in your best interest to lower your blood pressure? Absolutely. Do I know the magic number? No. Uh-oh. We just got cut off. We just got cut off from Instagram. Let's get back online. Let's do it. We can't, it's my birthday today, you guys. I can't. Here we go. Here we go. Let's wait for them to join in. Instagrammers, you're absolutely right. We got cut off. So hopefully you'll jump back on here. And yeah, so sorry. Pleased to get back on. Thank you. Thank you, Nathan, for joining back on. So it is in our best interest to lower the blood pressure. I do not know the magic number. I do not. All I'm saying is we don't want it high. For the most part, I've learned high to be 140/90 or above. High pressure also disturbs the muscle layer of the arteries as well, okay? So there's so much that that's causing injuries to the lining of the artery that you probably get overwhelmed. But I don't want you to get overwhelmed because metabolic syndrome is probably the most common cause, and you can reverse that. You can lower your insulin, which lowers the pressure, which lowers water retention, lowers salt retention. Pressure comes down naturally. Then you eliminate that, eliminate high blood pressure as a cause. And if you eliminated insulin, you likely stop the blood sugar from, exposing itself. And if you went to a whole food diet, then you probably eliminated the processed foods, which are the seed oils. So just by eliminating one thing, you know, you've metabolically reduced your risk of having a heart attack. Mm. All right, Kirk, thanks for joining us, and thanks for the suggestion on the magnesium. I appreciate that. Yep, Rupert, no carbs. That's exactly right. Yeah, Cheesehead, thank you for telling us. Wisconsin got some rain. I don't mind the rain. I'm glad it's sunny. That way I won't get wet today because I want to go outside. Mm. Uncle Charlie says, "Happy birthday, doll. Enjoy your day. I'm in the backyard. I'll be listening on painting." Okay, so happy painting. Richard says, "I agree with you about your ability to teach." Okay, so you agree with that Jesus gave me the a blessing of the ability to teach. Awesome. Yeah, I think so too. And I love to make things simple. When you get too complicated, like I almost hated to tell you about the cytochrome P71A enzyme or A1 enzyme, and I hesitate to talk about the NPC1L1 receptor in our gut, but yet we still need to know it all. And hopefully, just over time of me just leaning in and trying to teach you these little terms that you can learn and you'll get it locked in. But the most important thing is to learn about, right, what Cheesehead says is clean arteries, clean arteries, clean arteries. Uh, yeah, Lucy says for consultations, please email me at ironladydoc@aol.com. And if I do not answer you back, please email me again. Some of these are going over to spam. I don't know why. They're going to spam and I miss them. So please, I'm not trying to ignore you. And many of you have asked for a consultation, and then I give you the information I need to do a consultation, and then none of you get back to me. So if you're serious, let's do this. But if you're not, don't even email me with requests for a consultation because in all honesty, it does waste my time because I'm asking, I have to type out, questions for you to answer. And I spend my time doing that. And then I don't hear back from you. And then sometimes, well, I used to, I don't anymore because sometimes there's 10 of you a day. And I used to go back and say, "Hey, are you still wanting a consultation?" I'm not going to do that anymore. If you guys don't want to take your health into your hands, I'm not going to beg you for the consultation. I don't need you know, to do a consultation with you. Yeah, it's my job, but I don't need it. If you don't want it, I don't want to spend my time on you. Okay. I'm spending my time right now talking to 3,000 people online, and maybe I'll hit 1,000 of them in their brain and they'll start thinking about stuff. But again, I'm here for you guys to do a consultation, one on one. And if you are serious about it, email me. But if you're not, and you're just going to kind of be wishy washy, or you think you need to wait, wait. Don't do it. Okay. You have to be ready to make changes in your life because I talk about a lot of changes you need to make in your life. Kevin, you might need to go to the ER for your olive oil overdose, okay? Thank you, WT. I appreciate that. Dr. J, I agree that you are blessed with the ability to teach. I also like how direct you are with your answers. Thank you. Thank you, Vivian. I appreciate it. Okay. Make sure I don't have any questions over here. Thank you, Instagrammers, for jumping back on. How long would it take the body to fix the lining of a clot? I wish I knew. I wish I knew how long it would take, but what I do know this, in order for our immune system to fix that clot or to fix that injury, it takes a really good immune system, okay? And in order to have a really good immune system, we need to eat right. When I say eat right, to me, that is a low sugar, no seed oils, or no sugar, no seed oils, no processed foods. Then it gives our immune system a fighting chance. The bone marrow makes little baby progenitor cells. So when I tell you that the lining of the artery is damaged, not only is the innermost lining of the glycocalyx damaged, but so it goes blood flow, then glycocalyx, which is a jelly-like layer that's really slippery to allow blood and all the blood cells to go through. It's like the jelly on a outside of a fish. It's very slippery. That layer is the first one to go. And then we start attacking the endothelial cells. That's a line of cells. It's only one layer thick. But our body, if it's working right, can make new baby endothelial cells. They're called progenitor cells from the bone marrow. But your bone marrow has to be doing good. You see what I'm saying? It's like a trickle down effect. How does your bone marrow work good? Well, it works better if it's not in an inflamed environment. Is insulin resistance an inflamed environment? Yes. Are seed oils? Yes. Is alcohol? Yes. Smoking? Yes. All of those things limit the ability of our bone marrow to make little baby endothelial cells to replace the ones that got damaged. And if you continuously damage the artery, do you think that your body's going to be able to keep up with little baby cells being produced and fixing that area? Probably not. Probably not. So moments, I don't know the exact time. I just don't know that. But I think the time right now is to start right now. And however long it takes, continue doing it. Make it a lifestyle. Okay. Lucy asks, can you talk about mineral deficiency? Any thoughts on fulvic and humic minerals? Are we talking something like shilajit? Shilajit is, from volcanic runoff, volcanoes. And shilajit has been shown to supply the minerals that many people don't get. And we don't get the minerals because our soil is deficient of the minerals in the soil. Plus, if you are eating processed foods and seed oils, or if you're a vegan and only eating plants, plants have anti-nutrients like phytic acid, phytates, and oxalates. And these phytates and oxalates decrease the absorption of minerals that Lucy's asking about. So when we don't have, or when we have these anti-nutrients from plants, we can't absorb zinc and selenium and calcium and magnesium and iron. All of these minerals we need in order to our body to function. Now, specifically, Lucy asks about fulvic acid and humic minerals. I'm guessing from shilajit. If you're depleted of these minerals, then maybe you should take shilajit. Maybe you should take trace minerals. I don't know, but before supplementing, when somebody says supplementing, it tells me that their diet it sucks, or their diet is so strict that they're limiting, because we should be able to eat just animals and go lay down. Go lay down, Tallow. Go lay down. He's roaming. Um, he, sh- we should be able to get enough minerals and vitamins from our food, but again, I think that we're consuming foods that are high in plant matter, high in processed foods, and it's blocking the absorption of these things. The even amino acids. When we eat plants that are full of phytates and oxalates, we don't absorb amino acids. We don't absorb B vitamins. We don't absorb things that have a positive charge. Okay. Um, I wish I knew enough to answer Lucy on fulvic and humic. I just don't know enough. I've studied it briefly when talking about shilajit, but I just don't I don't know enough. I can't imagine it would be harmful, but I don't know. I guess it depends on where you're getting shilajit, if it's, you know, I don't I'm not even gonna keep talking because I don't know the answer. Yeah, Richard says it will take longer to heal if I take longer to start. So moments, Richard was saying, how long will it take? Well, if you never start, it's gonna take a long time. That's what Richard is basically saying. Okay. All right. Hopefully I answered your question, moments, and you're able to use that information. Thanks again, you guys on Instagram for rejoining. I don't know how long we'll be able to keep you guys on because they keep throwing us off. But um, as a review, we started out talking a little bit about my birthday, and then we moved into talking about the thyroid and how the thyroid increases our risk of cholesterol problems. With that being said, cholesterol problems is not, I believe, the only cause of coronary artery disease or strokes. I believe the thrombogenic hypothesis. I truly, truly believe. And if you guys want to learn more about the thrombogenic hypothesis, read the book, The Clot Thickens. I put it on Facebook. Um, it's hard for me to post it anywhere else, but Malcolm Kendrick, he's brilliant when it comes to the thrombogenic hypothesis of coronary artery disease or peripheral vascular disease or any thing like that. Malcolm Kendrick, The Clot Thickens, a great book. A little complicated, but it's great. When I was learning about the thrombogenic hypothesis, I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe what I was reading, and I actually had to read it twice because yes, it was complicated. And no, I don't know any more than you guys do, okay? He can teach he can teach the anatomy of the lining of the arteries just as easily as other people can. But wow, what an eye-opening experience. And I didn't read that book until after I learned about The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teacholt. I first had to undo everything I'd been taught about the lipid hypothesis. And if you guys need to do it like I did it, is undo what I had learned about the cholesterol lipid hypothesis, read Nina, Nina, Nina Teacholt, Teichholz, Nina Teacholt, The Big Fat Surprise, The Big Fat Surprise. That was one of the first books that my patients brought to my attention, brought it to me and said, Doctor, please just read this. Please just read this. Oh, I read it. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. I said, could I be wrong? You talking about asking for forgiveness and clarity? That's what I was asking the Lord on a regular basis. Oh, okay, Lucy. Yes, Lucy says it's not Shilajit. She's going to send me the video. Richard says the doctors just started me on levothyroxine due to thyroid issue. But what was your thyroid issue, Richard? Did they just treat your TSH? By the way, a normal TSH should be below 2. A normal free T3 should be between 3 and 3.5. Know your diagnosis. You guys, don't just accept the medication. Know what your diagnosis is. If they just say hypothyroidism, say why, how. Which one is bad? Do I have a T4 to T3 conversion? If I do, then I need to take T3, don't I, doctor? Why are you giving me more T4, Synthroid or levothyroxine, when I can't convert it? Well, what are you converting it to? Well, it's just not converting. Okay, then maybe you need to take T3, but what if it's converting to reverse T3 instead of T3? Yeah, you got a conversion problem, but why? Now you got to look into why reverse T3 is high. Oh, okay, I'm under stress and I'm not eating very well. In fact, I just don't eat. In fact, I could go 2 or 3 days without eating. I would call that a low calorie diet. Okay, that's a low calorie diet. And that is stressing your system. And now your reverse T3 says, ooh, we got to put on the brakes. I got to slow down metabolism and all of your T4 will convert to reverse T3. Put on the brakes. Low calorie diet. Stress, chronic illness, SIBO, high insulin. Richard says some number was 9.5. I'm guessing it was your TSH. But again, Richard, you still don't know what your problem with your thyroid is. They just gave you a medicine and you took it. And then they're going to treat your numbers from here on out, not knowing what else you got going on. I know you don't know this. I know that this is all new to you, but this is why you're here, is to keep learning, to learn more about what is going on, okay? Don't just, you know, don't just settle. Yeah, Richard, they're just measuring your TSH. But why is your TSH elevated? Something is not feeding back. There's not enough thyroid hormone in your blood. But which one is it and why? Okay? Maybe you're on medications that are lowering it. Maybe you're on amiodarone or you're on glucocorticoids. You're on like prednisone. Maybe your body's under a whole bunch of stress and you got high cortisol. Are you just going to fix your thyroid or are you going to fix why you're so stressed out? Or you're in a bad job, you're not sleeping. You have bad friends in your life. Your spouse is yelling at you. Why is your thyroid bad? Your body's not always, there isn't always a problem, okay? In fact, what if, I'm just bringing this to your attention, what if you're eating a whole bunch of plants? What if you're a vegan and you have phytates and oxalates in your system and it's decreasing the absorption of zinc and selenium, and you need zinc and selenium to run your thyroid? So do you just give yourself more thyroid or do you change your diet? So there's other things that you need to know. Um, Moment said my TSH was 2.17 in January. It's a tiny bit high and went to 3.9 in December of 2025. So that tells me it's getting worse, right? But why? What is the free T3? What is the free T4? What is your TG? Maybe you got Hashimoto's. Well, why do you have Hashimoto's? Oh, I got Hashimoto's because, well, it's hereditary. Oh, are you sure? Or is it your crapola diet? And your body's inflamed and now you have antibodies. That's not a death sentence. You can get rid of that. What if What if you live in today's world and you wear today's clothing and you sleep on today's bedding and you have carpet and you have furniture and you have toxicity of bromide? And then that bromide is blocking the iodine receptors in your body. And then you need iodine for your thyroid. Did anybody check your iodine levels? Are you overdosing on fluoride? Are you using a whole bunch of fluoride toothpaste, going to the dentist every 2 months and getting fluoride treatments? Fluoride blocks iodine. Well, now you got an iodine problem because you have a fluoride problem. Do you just give iodine or you get rid of the fluoride problem? Go back, unpeel the layers of the onions, okay? And find out what is going on. Why is your thyroid bad? You just don't get it out of your head that you got a thyroid problem, here's your medication. You got a cholesterol problem, here's your medication. You got a depression, here's your medication. You got a whatever, high blood pressure, here's your medication. Try to unpeel the layers and figure out why you have these things so you could fix it and you don't need these medications. Richard says, my stress is from unable to work due to congestive heart failure. Living in a van, can't afford to go to the doctor or meds or eating right. That I am very sad to hear that, Richard, but living in your van might be a good place, you could eat McDonald's hamburgers and bacon. You could eat chicken breasts. You don't need to eat Doritos. I don't know what you're eating, Richard, but you got congestive heart failure from the pressure. You got pressure from the insulin. Your crapola diet has caused these things. You know that. I'm not telling you anything, but you can reverse it. Stop eating processed foods, seed oils, and sugar. You can easily eat boiled eggs. Eggs, it's what, $3 a dozen, $2 a dozen. They're right now they're 99 cents at Quick Star. Okay. I'm just trying to give you some ideas. Okay. You can do this, Richard, but honestly, um, yeah, congestive heart failure is actually engorgement, enlargement of the muscle layer. Usually it's I mean it could be systolic. So systolic heart failure is the top number in your blood pressure, okay? But an inability of your heart to pump blood out of that is called ejection fraction. And you can figure that out on an echo. This is getting too complicated. You guys probably don't want to hear about congestive heart failure. So I don't know if Richard has systolic heart failure or diastolic heart failure. I'm guessing diastolic, but I don't know. And so, as I usually do, Richard is listening right now, and if you are praying people, please pray for Richard, pray for his health, pray for his finances, pray for a hedge of protection around Richard, so he is protected from the evil that is all around him. Bless him with good food that the Lord will just spring upon him. All of these things that we wish for when we want Richard to be blessed with, let's just pray for him. Let's put him in our prayers. And WT, that's a great idea to Richard. You can eat sardines living in a van. Absolutely. Sardines, canned tuna, canned salmon, canned chicken, canned spam, all of those things. Richard says the lower chamber, thickening of the walls, so diastolic dysfunction. Thank you, WT. Praying for you, brother. Good job, you guys. Good morning, Sheila. Thanks for being here. Free T3 3.2 moments. That's really good. That is a good number. Okay. Thank you, Lucy, for the prayers. I appreciate that for Richard. You guys are just sitting there listening to me talk. Oh, Capo, I do not do live videos, so I appreciate the fact that you want to do a live video with me, but I don't do that. I just leave these live streams for you guys to answer questions. Unless I have a planned guest, I don't bring anybody on. So hopefully you understand. Okay. WT says the thrombogenic hypothesis is the only hypothesis that makes sense. The lipid hypothesis makes no sense. Let me clarify one thing, WT, with with the lipid hypothesis. If there is high LDL in your blood, okay? I'm not saying it's always a problem, but when is it a problem? When LDL is high in your blood and you are eating a crapola diet full of processed foods, seed oils, and sugar, those LDLs can get oxidized. That means they can get damaged. How do they get damaged? I know your first answer should be sugar and insulin. It should be. It is. When the liver, okay, every LDL starts out as a VLDL. When the liver packages up triglycerides and cholesterol to send out into the bloodstream, it packages them up in VLDLs. The liver produces VLDL. As the VLDL goes out into the bloodstream, it delivers triglycerides to cells that need energy. Triglycerides are sources of energy. And as it dumps off its cargo of triglycerides, it becomes an intermediate density lipoprotein. Then it strips off a little bit more triglycerides and becomes an LDL. LDLs don't carry triglycerides. They carry cholesterol. LDL is a lipoprotein, just like a very low density lipoprotein. Lipoproteins carry cholesterol. Cholesterol does not float in your bloodstream. It has to be carried. It's fat soluble, not water soluble. Tallow. Okay, so the LDL, which is absent of triglycerides, unloads its cholesterol to cell membranes and tissues that need cholesterol. Okay. Then the LDL is supposed to come back to the liver and be recycled or eliminated via the bile in your pooper. Okay. Those are ways we get rid of LDL. If we can't get rid of LDL back into the liver or out into our poop, we get a buildup of LDLs. And the liver is still dumping out VLDLs. So the VLDLs actually bump into the existing LDLs. They collide. When a VLDL bumps into an LDL, the VLDL dumps its triglycerides into the LDL. That is not a good thing, you guys. That damages the LDL. The LDL was never meant to carry triglycerides, only the VLDL. So if the LDL is now stripped of its cholesterol and it's carrying triglycerides, it can be attacked. It can be attacked by sugar glycating, by iron overload, by seed oils, by smoking, alcohol, you name it, LDLs can be damaged. And when they get damaged, they shrivel up, tiny little things like raisins, and that's called a small, dense LDL. Small, dense LDLs are very atherogenic, meaning they love to stick. They're sticky. They like to stick to an injury on the lining of the artery. If there is no injury to the lining of the artery, then small, dense LDLs are not necessarily a problem. But again, you guys, how did you get the small, dense LDLs? They had to have been damaged, and the main cause is sugar and insulin and smoking and drinking and seed oils. So yes, you probably caused your small, dense LDLs, and yes, you probably got them all sticky to the injury of the lining. Okay? That is basic how I believe that the thrombogenic and the lipid hypothesis kind of come together and gel. So maybe WT, it's not one or the other, it's kind of both. But to say that an LDL is bad, WT and I agree. The LDL is not bad. He's only bad when he's been oxidized, damaged, and becomes a small, dense LDL. But a big, giant LDL is needed. It's needed for our brain and our cells, cell membranes. It's needed for our immune system. It's needed for healing. It's needed for the myelin sheath around your nerves, the little coating around your nerves. It's called myelin. It's like the covering on a cord, the black coating on a cord. If you had exposed wires without the cord covering, that's like a nervous system, nerves that don't have a coating on them. They're just exposed and they can be damaged. So the cholesterol, the LDLs are needed for that, to help supply cholesterol for the myelin sheath. You guys are getting this, okay? LDL is not, no matter what you hear, where the conclusion I come to is, why would God make us with a kill switch in us? Why would he make us have LDL, such a thing as an LDL? And it would be a bad thing. LDL, when it's made from God's perspective, it's fine. But when we start messing with it, we make a good LDL a bad LDL. That's on us. That's not on our normal body physiology. The only time I could say where it's maybe not your fault, that would be familial hyperlipidemia, high cholesterol, familial. And I'm talking about the real diagnosis, not, oh gosh, you have high cholesterol. And, well, your dad had it and your mom had it. Yeah, you got familial. That's not what that means. Familial hypercholesterolemia means that you were born without good receptors on your liver. That has nothing to do with mom and dad having high cholesterol, unless, of course, they gave you the genes that make bad receptors on your liver. Okay? And there's 2 types, and you should know what type you are if you have FH. You should know if you're heterozygous or homozygous because honestly, the treatment is much, much different. We don't just go and blanket losing or treating a number on a lab sheet and say, oh, if we lower your LDL, we don't have a problem anymore. No, that's not how you treat things. You don't just treat a number on a piece of paper. You got to know what your diagnosis is because maybe the treatment, the medicine is different for both kinds. And what if your receptors are fine, but you have a problem with your gut getting rid of the LDL, the cholesterol in your bowel movements? What if that's the problem? Well, you don't just lower a number on a piece of paper if you have an elimination problem. It, in your gut is not working. You don't just lower the amount of LDLs, but still unable to get rid of them. You have a pooper problem. Okay. Marion says, my LDL breakdown was within normal limits. Marion, you might be new here, but in my book, within normal limits, there's no definition of that. I want raw numbers. Tell me what your LDL breakdown is. Within normal limits, to me, it means reference range. On a piece of paper, you're fall within a reference range of sick people. Oh, your LDL falls in all of these sick people? Great, your LDL's fine. I don't know what your breakdown is. Okay. Help others listening right now with the raw numbers. Your LDL particle was very something. Marion, help us out. We would love to be able to help you, but we can't without enough information. Schiff asks, what is the level of omega-6 that you prefer? I prefer the omega-6 to be in a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3. Today's society is today's society has almost a 20-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3, meaning we eat a ton of crappy processed foods full of omega-6 seed oils. Seed oils are cottonseed, canola, corn, sunflower, safflower, soy. Those are seed oils, and processed foods are packed full of them, and they elevate our omega-6 level. So instead of saying, you know, I want my omega-6 to be 20 and my omega-3 to be 20, how about a 1-to-1 ratio? Okay. We're eating way too many omega-6s. We need them, they're essential, but we don't need as many as we're getting. All animals have omega-3 and omega-6 in them, but they have them in a exact ratio that we need. When we eat processed crapola food, that's fake food, that's not real, it has no nutritional value. We are getting an overload of omega-6 and not enough omega-3. That is one of the reasons why we are very inflamed. That is one of the real reasons why we have heart attacks. Our whole body's inflamed. Our arteries are inflamed. Our brain is inflamed. Our muscles are inflamed. Our joints are inflamed. Everything is inflamed. I know it's kind of a buzzword right now, but check your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio and see. If you're over 1-to-1, then you have too many omega-6s. Anne says, indeed, praying Richard is helped with resources and encouragement. That's a good prayer, Anne. Thank you. Okay. How does omega-3 balance omega-6? Well, omega-3s are thought to be more anti-inflammatory and omega-6s are more inflammatory, which I can see. If you're eating a ton of omega-6 seed oils, you are very inflamed. And there's not enough omega-3s to go around. Trust me, you're using them up on all of the other things going on in your body. So you really need to eliminate the omega-6 back down, okay? Queen says LDL of 130. Okay. What's your triglyceride level and your HDL level? Mara says my LDL is 44 with statins, but I placed a stent last year. I just take 5 milligrams of rosuvastatin. I am considered to test without statins. Did your LDL be the cause of your stent? Your stent is treating old history. What were what do you eat? What did you eat? Did you eat the standard American diet and then get a stent and then take the Crestor to help block things? Now, granted, Maura, this is one of the only times I am going to tell you that you need a rosuvastatin, okay? But okay, why is that? Because stents are highly atherogenic, especially at the ends, at the end of the stent. It's like the ends of the straw. Very, very atherogenic. The reason they put you on a statin is not really to lower your LDL. It's really to decrease inflammation and decrease clotting. That's what statins, the good part of statins do is they're antithrombotic and anti-inflammatory. But my thanks are don't have inflammation and don't get a clot. Now, Mara, you're past that. You damaged your arteries somehow, okay? And the result is you had a blockage over years, mind you. You just didn't develop a blockage in a day. If your blockage was plaque, you developed that. That is your history book over years, as a kid, even eating crapola. And then you continued it into adulthood. You might have had a symptom. They looked and they saw here's a blockage, clog, and they go, let's just stent it. And now you are at risk of scarring at the ends of the straw. And so they're putting you on a statin as an antithrombotic and as an anti-inflammatory. Not a bad idea, but is it a forever idea? I say not. Why? Because you need to decrease your own inflammation. Okay. Once those stents enmesh into your artery lining and become one with your artery lining, now it's all you. And that stent is highly, highly atherogenic. From this time forward, you will, it's like putting a vein graft in your heart. Now it's at high risk of getting plaque. So your stent is very high risk of getting plaque because it's an area where that can be over and over injured. It's now kind of fake. It's not you anymore. You have plastic or whatever they're made out of now, the mesh that's okay. So it's very important, Mara, that you stop smoking, stop drinking alcohol, get outside in the sun, get better sleep, stop eating sugar and seed oils and processed foods, eat whole foods. I would stay, if it was me, I would stay away from plants, but that's up to you. Okay. Most plants are processed unless you're eating them right out of the ground. And then I would cook the heck out of them, like boil them for 20 minutes to get rid of the anti-nutrients. Those are the things I would do. I would make sure that I was on some sort of a blood thinner, whether that be omega-3s, whether that be nattokinase. This is not medical advice. You likely have a cardiologist who is just treating an LDL number, and 44, Mara, you don't have much for all the things, the processes that are needed for LDL, like your immune system, like your brain function. You know, you're going without, and that's with a 5 milligram dose. That tells me that you didn't have much LDL. So was LDL really your problem, or was it insulin resistance? Did you have diabetes? Did you have high blood sugar, high insulin? Were you causing your own injury? Were you drinking alcohol and smoking? Were you not exercising? Exercising increases blood flow. Being out in the sun increases nitric oxide, increases blood flow. But Mara, you can't take back your history. All you can do is move forward, and hopefully you'll make some better lifestyle change, lifestyle habits. Oh, Lucy, that mast cell activation syndrome, so MCAS, I'm not extremely aware of, but you are talking about mast cells. Those mast cells make histamine. That's what their job is. Histamine is a product of our mast cells, and it's a protection device. They're why people get MCAS, I'm not sure. If you have MCAS or know somebody who has MCAS, you probably want to avoid any aged food, like aged meat or fermented foods. You probably want to avoid them. You can eat other things, you just want to avoid aged stuff. Those are fermented, they're high, they spike histamine. So now if you have MCAS, you're at higher risk of having histamine release. Cheesehead, I will try to answer your question. Cheesehead asks if I'm more comfortable with a Mediterranean diet over only keto, is that okay? It is okay. You have to be okay with whatever you're comfortable with. But what is your definition of a Mediterranean diet? Let's talk about that. First, give us the Mediterranean diet. That's pretty common. This is what was told to Richard. The only dietary advice their doctor, his doctor, Richard's doctor, gave to him was to stop caffeine and lose weight. That's what their doctor said. You guys know how I feel about that. There's no specifics. Stop caffeine. Just stop caffeine and lose weight. Well, that's great advice. You could have gotten that from your garbage collector. Yes, Lucy, a Mediterranean diet is better than a crapola or processed food diet. But what is the Mediterranean diet? The real, what is Cheesehead's definition of the Mediterranean diet that Cheesehead is following? Lucy says, what if you have a 2-to-1, 3-to-6 ratio? Well, I can't see a problem with that. What blood tests tell you your inflammation? I bet I'm inflammatory. That's from Cheesehead. Cheesehead's going to get a high sensitive CRP. You could also get I really want to know your insulin level. That is highly inflammatory. You could get an omega 6-to-3 ratio. You could get a TNF alpha. You could get a SED rate. Those are all inflammatory markers. If your doctor won't order a whole bunch of those, the high sensitive CRP is really important. And the insulin level is really important. So we're going to try to figure out, Cheesehead, if your Mediterranean diet is okay from a metabolic standpoint. But in all reality, even if you're comfortable with whatever the Mediterranean diet is, I don't know what that definition is. If you're comfortable with it and you're okay with the any ramifications, then stick with it. I mean, some people who are listening right now are okay with a crapola diet. And I am too with that for them. If that's what they want, I'm not forcing anybody's diet on any diet on anyone. I'm just giving information what foods increase risk of having a heart attack, stroke, Parkinson's, cognitive decline, dementias, kidney failure, liver failure, cancers. I'm just giving you information. Okay. Then you have to take that information and make a good decision for you. Okay. It's my birthday today. I don't want to argue with anybody. Richard says, is my cabbage, my 4-vessel cabbage, so that's a coronary artery bypass graft. So 4 of them. Is that atherogenic? Yes. Yes, it is. Because I'm guessing, Richard, they took a vein out of your leg and used that as your bypass grafts. So all 4 of them. That vein now can be atherogenic. But again, Richard, you have to have an injury. It's not that the vein is atherogenic, it's what you're doing to that vein or the artery, like high sugar, high insulin, smoking, alcohol, not getting out in the sun, not exercising. So, Richard's going to have to get outside of his van, don't go very far, and maybe walk around it. Maybe do some air squats. Go lay down. Maybe do air squats. You got to get exercising. Start with lifting your own body through space. Take a slow walk. Do some sort of exercise, okay? And change your diet, or Richard, that bypass graft is going to get atherogenic. It's going to get plaqued, okay? It's now the new guy on the block, and it's in an area where there was old injury. Yeah, good point, Lucy. Thank you very much. So for the inflammatory markers, a high sensitive CRP, a SED rate, which is an ESR, a ferritin level, fibrinogen, a CBC, a homocysteine. Those are all inflammatory markers. Again, if Lucy's putting stuff in the chat, she's the next best thing to having Dr. J's voice. She's very well versed on these things. I'm not saying she's um, a doctor by any means, but again, you guys know my thoughts on it. Is half the doctors I know aren't as intelligent as you guys. So I'm trying to read these things and make sure that you're getting good advice, and Lucy is giving good advice, or giving not advice, but giving good information. Okay. Cheesehead says, "What are your plans for your birthday?" Um, I'll tell you today, I really just want to relax. I want to watch some softball games. So the NCAA Women's Softball College World, or the World Series or Regionals, is starting. It started yesterday. So you will find me on my couch enjoying some softball games, because it's something once a year I love to do. And yeah, it's probably best if it would start raining outside and make me feel better about my choice of laying on the couch. But then again, it is my birthday, and that's what I choose to do as a birthday present. I want to relax and watch softball. Okay. Okay. Cheesehead says, I'm more comfortable with eliminating sugars and carbs for sure. Good. That sounds like a great plan. Yeah, insulin, omega 3, 6, it's a 6-3 ratio, omega 6 to 3 ratio, and a TNF alpha. That's another inflammatory marker. Richard says, thank you. Great information. I will start moving, walking, etc. Moving myself through space. Good idea. Yep. And Lucy just finished her 30-minute walk in the sun. The sun is shining. Queen says, I have a lipo A, so an LP little a of 185. A good LP little a, optimal would be 30, between 10 and 30, okay? A LP little a. So Queen Rat has an LP little a. Thank you, Paula. Queen Rat has an LP little a of 185, okay? Kind of a lot. Triglycerides are 68 and HDL of 70. This is good information. Queen Rat metabolically is doing very well. Low triglycerides, less than 70. High HDL, 70 or greater. That would tell me metabolically, just looking at those, oh my gosh, Queen, you're doing great. You're doing great. Okay. What is your insulin level? I would want to know that. And I would probably want to look at your liver function. I want to know a CMP, and a CBC. And of course, I do want to get iron studies on you, Queen. I would be getting iron studies. an iron level, a ferritin, a transferrin, a TIBC, and a saturation. I would want to know those. I also want to know, is queen rat at risk of a blood clot? One, they already have, queen rat already has one risk for a blood clot. That's LP little a. So that is a risk factor of having a blood clot. Everybody has LP little a. Some have more LP little a than others. Enter queen rat, 268 or whatever it was. That's high. That is a risk factor for a blood clot. Okay. Now we need to check other risk factors. What about a fibrinogen level? What about a factor 8, factor 5, prothrombin mutation? If I had all of those blood clot disorders, I would get a little hot under my collar. Okay. I would for sure say, I don't want any cuts on my arteries, okay, inside the lining. I need to avoid sugar. I don't want to smoke. I will never drink alcohol. I'm going to get out in the sun. I'm going to start exercising. The LP little a isn't causing your problem. You need the LP little a to fix the injury, just like you needed the LDL to fix the injury. It is your wound care. Your LP little a is your wound care, and he's very sticky. So if there's a chronic injury, LP little a is going to stick to the injury, and he's going to try to clot things. But if you have a whole bunch of injury and a whole bunch of clotting factors, queen rat is at risk of the thrombogenic hypothesis of a heart attack and stroke, even though queen rat has a triglyceride of 68 and an HDL of 70. Do you see why we can't just look at numbers on a lab sheet without getting the full context? And now I probably freaked out queen rat. The answer is not to lower LDLs. The answer is to prevent injury and keep blood thin, normal, thin, flowing, free-spirited, and not clotting. We don't want it to clot. But the LP little a isn't going to cause a clot out of thin air. The LP little a needs to have an injury. The fibrinogen needs to have an injury. The factor 8 needs to have an injury. If queen rat has a triglyceride of 68 and an HDL of 70, I doubt queen rat is eating a whole bunch of sugar and has high insulin. I would venture to guess they don't. But what are the other injuries? Okay. What if it's stress and high cortisol? What if it's a low calorie diet? What if it's what if they have an iron overload from way back in the day? I don't know. This is why I do consults with you guys, is to get the full information, because I can speculate. We just got thrown off of Instagram. I can speculate, you guys, about queen rat, but usually having a consultation with somebody like queen rat, we can go over everything. Okay, we can go over everything, all the history. So that's what's going on. Yes, Richard. The Iron Lady wants iron studies. Okay. Penny, sorry about that. Thanks for coming back. I appreciate that, you guys. You're doing it for my birthday. Thanks for coming back. I don't know which one of these I'm going to post for Instagram. I'll have to pick one. Part 1, part 2, or part 3. We've been kicked off already that many times. Happy Dr. Jensen Day. May you have many more healthy years ahead. Thanks for all you do for us. Would you please name the salt recommendations? You got it, Patrice. I love Jacobson's kosher salt. And and I forgot to mention this last time, so Jacobson's. Oh my gosh, Patrice, thank you for the birthday present. Patrice just gave me $20 on YouTube, so thank you. So just recently, and I haven't gotten this because I was taking in Jacobson's salt, but I just got Meldon salt. Oh my gosh, the Meldon flake salt. I don't know if you guys like flake salt, but I love flake salt. So Meldon, yeah, it's incredible. I'm just hoping it has low amounts of lead and aluminum and all of that stuff in there. Okay. Yeah, but Jacobson's is probably in the top 3. I believe Diamond's in the top 3. I can't remember where Baja Gold sits, but I'm guessing it's in the top 5 of the cleanest salts. If you just want to get one, there's a website. I can't remember the website. Maybe Lucy can help me out. But um, the there's a website that tells about contaminants in different salts and it ranks them. And, Redmond's used to be high in the list, and then it fell off the list because of what the testing found, the contamination. So go to that on a frequent basis. Please don't just trust me because it could take me months or a year to eat through my salt supply. And I could be wrong and telling you that, I'm taking in Jacobson's kosher salt and they just found that they fell off the list. So I don't want you to buy kosher Jacobson salt if it's not on the top 3 or 4 to buy. Okay. Lead Safe Mama. Thank you, Mary. That's the website, Lead Safe Mama. And then you can look up the top 3 salts. But taste wise, I hope Meldon and Jacobson's don't have the contaminants. I just pray that that's not the case. So anyway, okay, you guys. Could you repeat the thyroid numbers that you said before that might be optimal? Sure. A TSH you want below 2. So say between 1 and 2, a TSH. And you want your free T3 to be between 3 and 3.5. And you want your reverse T3 to be at least less than 15, if not around 10. One other practitioner that's listening, they said 11 is their cutoff. So 11, 15, we just don't want it high. When it's high, the T3 is not able to hit the receptors. The reverse T3 is blocking them. So thanks you guys for chiming in with all these. This is great. This is why I like doing what I do, is because you guys are interacting and asking questions and helping me with the answers, because I don't know it all and I can't remember everything. And that's why I'm glad you guys are here to help me out. Lucy says, just live to learn all of this. Yeah, love to learn. I know, even me, Lucy, there's so much to learn. There's so much to review. And today I only talked about a couple things, which is really a lot. I talked about thyroid and I talked about heart attacks and strokes. And I talked about the lipid hypothesis versus the thrombogenic hypothesis. And maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe it's these LP little A's and the small dense LDLs. But let's not get hooked up. Let's not get trapped into just treating numbers on a piece of a paper, okay? Where we got ourselves into that mess is when you guys started going to a ketogenic diet and you reversed your diabetes, you reversed your blood pressure, you reversed everything, got off all of your medicines. And then your doctor says, yeah, but your LDL is high. They didn't congratulate you. They didn't say, wow, great with your weight loss and you're sleeping better and you got a smile on your face and you're productive at work and you got more friends and you're praying. None of that matters. Just your LDL. You're going to have a heart attack. That's BS, you guys. If you reversed all of those things and you went on a low insulin provoking diet, then your small dense LDL should be low. And if they're not, and you're on a carnivore diet, then we need to talk. Then you are a person you cannot tolerate eating that much saturated fat. You're going to have to lower your saturated fat. You're eating too much if you have small dense LDLs and you're eating a carnivore diet. And I can go into that in more detail with you guys if you do a consult, but we have to look at some other things. But for the most part, if you have low amounts of small dense LDLs, you are eating a ketogenic diet. I can almost predict that. Okay. There's going to be some oddballs and they're good oddballs. Okay. But we're not treating numbers here. We're talking through things. We're talking through mechanism of action. We're talking about biology and physiology. Richard was told at the hospital that a TSH between 0.5 and 4.7 was normal range. His was 9.4 or 9.5. You guys, If you have a TSH of 4.7 and you do not feel well, you're tired, you cannot lose weight, you got loss of hair, you're depressed, your TSH is not normal. That is not normal. That is a reference range. Reference range, Richard, is not optimal. There is a huge difference. Maybe between zero point 0.5 and 2.0 would be a better optimal, not reference range. Richard, you were in the hospital and they were measuring you with a whole bunch of other sick people, so you fit in perfectly, except for you didn't. You were even over the sick people level. You had a 9.4. But why? Richard, why did your thyroid all of a sudden poop out? Was it your congestive heart failure? Was it your insulin resistance? Was it your chronic illnesses? Was it your crapola diet? Was it your lack of sleep? Was it your lack of exercise? Was it lack of sun? Was it lack of grounding? What was the cause? Your thyroid probably just didn't poop out on its own. Okay. Can we talk about uric acid and gout tomorrow? Yeah, that's a great. Can you remind me, Cheesehead? Let me do some research. I mean, I know what I want to say, but I like to write down notes. So if you want that topic, uric acid and gout, and let's also add in the type of diet. Let's also add in exercise. Let's also add in kidneys and functioning kidneys. All of that is going to be talked about tomorrow. That'll be our subject, uric acid and gout. Lucy, you might need to text me and remind me. Dr. J, please don't forget to study uric acid and gout for tomorrow. Because it's my birthday. And I am going to be watching softball and maybe just doing a little bit of snoozy, a good snooze, snooze on the couch. All right. Great topic. That is a great topic, Richard. Oh, yeah. And right on. Uric acid, gout, oxalates. You got it. All incoming. Oh, Lucy, can you remind me? Please remind me. I'll forget this. P. Bunkley says, what are your thoughts on a TPO elevations of 194? Autoimmune? Absolutely autoimmune. But why are your TPO showing 194 when they should be 0? We should not have antibodies in our body, blood, attacking our thyroid. Okay? We shouldn't. You should be, wow, Patrice, that lasted a long time on our screen. I love that. Thank you for the gift, for the birthday gift. I appreciate that. You guys are awesome. If you are listening right now, please hit the thumbs up and the likes. All right, back to P. Bunkley. Something else is going on in your body. If you have one autoimmune disorder, you have another autoimmune disorder. Something is inflammatory in your body. And without other labs, I don't know where the root cause is, but I doubt it's your thyroid. Okay, somewhere else. And your thyroid is the result of what's going on. Okay. Does a person have hereditary autoimmune? You might have genes, but you got to feed those genes, P. Bunkley. That's called epigenetics. We are not doomed because we have a gene. We're doomed because we feed it. All right. What are your ideas? What Susie asked, what are your ideas on irritable bowel syndrome? Irritable bowel is from something. It's from a crapola diet. Okay. Something is causing inflammation in your bowels. Something is inflaming your bowels. It's usually diet. Diet. You are consuming something that your body doesn't like, likely plants, grains, lectins, oxalates, phytates. If you go on an elimination diet of meat, salt, and water, I am guessing within a week your IBS would be gone. Just saying. Elimination diet. Ruminant, meat, salt, and water. Do it for 1 week. And I bet your symptoms go away. Let's see. Thank you, doctor, for these live sessions every weekend. You're very welcome. Pets. Hey, can you say hi to the people? Come here. Listen, this is why people are raising money. This is why I'm raising money for Rescue Rehab and Rehome. Okay? This is why. This is Norman Tallow. This is my Rescue Rehab Rehome baby. All right. Without that organization, I would have never known about him. And he was on the streets of Norman, Oklahoma, just running. And then he came to me at about age 2. He's now 3. So we've been with each other for now a year. And he does not like this, even though you think he does. He is probably scared crapless right now, but that's okay. He's looking at the camera because he knows what I do. All right. And he's a very good boy. He wants to please mama. Okay. So yeah, this is Norman. He's from Norman, Oklahoma, and I named him Tallow, Norman Tallow, after beef tallow. He's my beef tallow baby. Okay. You like that, baby? Okay. So yes, this is Norman. Oh my goodness, the face of innocence. Thanks, P. Bunkley. So how do you find out the source of the high TPO? You get inflammatory markers like the ones Lucy wrote down for us, the high sensitive CRP, the SED rate, the insulin level, all of that. And um, we also want to check iron studies. We also want to check a CMP and a CBC. All of these things, P. Bunkley, we need more information. We probably need a uric acid level too. Okay. You want to get down? You're starting to shake. Do you want to get down? So more labs, P. Bunkley, more labs, and we can maybe figure it out. Susie says, for the irritable bowel, should I go through a food sensitivity test? Absolutely not. Do not waste your money. That's like $500 of pure hogwash. Okay. An elimination of food, you don't need to be tested for that. Once you eliminate and your symptoms go away, add back slowly. Add egg yolks back, then whole eggs, then some bacon, then add back some cheese, then maybe some cottage cheese. Find out what it is, but you'll have to do this slow. You don't just add back one day at a time. You're going to have to go weeks of adding things back. So you could just be eating meat, salt, and water, and then you're going to eat egg yolks for a week with that, and you're going to see if you react. Why I would never pay money for I'm just saying, a crap test like that when I can do it on my own and find out exactly what it is. If somebody told me not to eat red meat and I do fine on red meat because of a food sensitivity test, I would question that food sensitivity test. Every one of I look at, they say don't eat eggs. That's BS. Maybe don't eat the whites of the eggs. We react to the whites, but not the yolk. Okay? You want to get down. Be very careful. Be careful. Here he is. This is my pretty boy. He's 15 pounds. He is a mix of dachshund and Basenji, according to ChatGPT. Okay. And I think it's right. He does not bark. Basenjis don't bark. Basenjis sing. And he has a seal of a bark. And I think it's the dachshund coming out of him. But yes, I hear it every morning. He's so excited to go on a walk. Um, Staying Keto says January of 26 had a CT calcium score of 0, but on lung they saw ground glass. You've asked this question before. I thought we've answered this. I go this Tuesday for a scan. I'm scared. Cancer. What do you think? Staying Keto. Um, we're gonna pray for you, and I understand why you're scared. And here's how you should look at this. The fact that you got that calcium score could have caught all of this early. Had you not got the calcium score and there's something bad in your lung, you could have let it go. This is a time staying keto where you really need to do the diet. But if I remember right, staying keto, you're also somebody with very, very high LDLs and all of that. I can't remember everything. But staying keto, keep us up to date, okay? Let us know next weekend what the scan showed. But in the meantime, can we pray? We pray for Richard. Can we also pray for staying keto that the Lord puts a hedge of protection around them and guides them and makes peace in their heart, because being scared increases cortisol and increases blood sugar and increases insulin, and insulin feeds all cells, including cancer cells. So we need to stay calm, get rest, and pray. Pray. Susie says, I eat a good diet. Susie, please, definitions, please. What is good? You know, I had somebody say yesterday they eat a clean diet, and I said, what kind of soap do you use to wash off your diet with? What is good? I'm lactose intolerant. Everybody is. Everybody is over the age of 5. They are lactose intolerant. We do not have lactase enzyme after about the age of 5. That's why we're the only species who eats and drinks another species' milk after the age of 5. Okay. All right. Creations. Creation. Ship. Um, okay. Creation. What would you say to someone who has normal A1C? What is normal? Define normal. Normal fasting insulin, define. Thyroid antibodies, define. Normal TSH, define. Low T3, define. History of low, moderate carbs, 60. Okay, I don't have enough information. Creation, I'm so sorry, but I need raw numbers. Susie says, I do not eat processed foods. One of my clients yesterday said they don't eat processed foods, but when I asked them what they were eating, oh, my wife makes us pasta and sometimes I eat pizza. And do you see what I'm saying? I don't know your definition, Susie, of processed foods. Okay. And, you know, I'm glad that you keep the cleaning products and soaps and everything else all natural. That's awesome. Everybody should be doing that. We have way too many chemicals in our environment. Moment says an LDL of 169, HDL of 46, ApoB of 102, and a triglyceride of 112. Moments has metabolic dysfunction. Moments is at risk of having a heart attack and stroke with those numbers. Okay? Got to lower the triglycerides down to less than 70. How do you do that? Lower carbs. When you lower the carbs, you'll raise the HDL. You can raise HDL by exercising, like resistance training or HIIT, high intensity interval training. Need to exercise. Thank you, 1910. I appreciate that. He might, on some days he might say he's lucky to have me, and on other days he goes, I think I'll just stay in my kennel. Any medicine for heartbreak recovery? Yeah, it's prayer. I've had that syndrome before. Yes, ruminant red meat. Ruminant meats are the best. So lamb, bison, buffalo, sheep, cow, deer. Those are the best. Yes, ruminants are bison, buffalo, sheep, lamb, cow, deer. Um, I do, Lucy, I do use red light. I do have a red light mask. Um, I do it on occasion. Do I know if it works? I'm not sure. Do I know that they're LED lights and that is bad for us? I do. Whew, yeah, there's so many things. But if I can rebuild collagen and elastin through red light, and the LED is in the safe wavelengths, and I'm doing it for 9 minutes, 3 days a week, I don't know if it's causing me any problems. I don't know. Yeah, 1910, you're absolutely right. The great physician Jesus will treat the heartbreak. He's been treating my heartbreak for years. Okay. And then more heartbreak comes. I think the two most traumatizing things that have happened in my life is the loss of my dad and the loss of Tucker. This is, for those of you, this is my Tucker, okay? And I don't know if there's any worse pain. I just don't know. But you're right. They're both with Jesus right now. And soon I will see them. No, I'm not thinking I'm going to die tomorrow because Jesus is still using me, but in time, I will leave this body, and to be apart from the body is to be present with the Lord. That is what I believe. So if I go tomorrow, you guys, know that I am with Jesus. Moments say, do those numbers mean I need a statin? Not necessarily. I said that you can lower your triglycerides by lowering carbohydrates, which lower sugar. Sugar, insulin, they raise triglycerides. You don't need a medicine to lower your triglycerides. You need to stop eating what raises triglycerides. It's so much easier and cheaper, and you don't need a doctor for that. Create says, hey, that's Mancy. Mancy. Okay, Mancy. My A1C is 4.8, triglycerides 67, TPO 19, TG 18. So you do have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. That is Hashimoto's. I don't know what your insulin level is. It's probably in the 3 to 5 range, but I don't know. What is your high sensitive CRP? What is your iron studies? There's much more to know. If you've just recently went onto some sort of a ketogenic diet, it takes upwards to a year for TPO and TG antibodies to come down. They come down very slowly. Don't keep rechecking them if you're doing a ketogenic diet. When we're in ketosis, you're in the least inflammatory diet there is, okay? So over time, on a ketogenic diet, your TPO and TG antibodies should come down, but it could take a year. So again, don't keep trying to say your diet is failing you when it's not. Okay. Cheesehead says, QQ, so when you eat keto, I'm like me, do you only do organic? I don't. My meat is sometimes not organic. It might be grass fed, but it's not organic grass fed. I don't know. If I eat a little bit of cheese, which I've given up until today, and I didn't go buy any, but I gave it up for, I think it's been 6 weeks. I gave up cheese. And if I do, I try to get raw cheese, and I try to get um pasture raised beef. So I do my best. Do I eat grain fed beef? I do. I do. I don't always have access to grass fed beef, and so I will eat grain fed beef. Do I feel bad about that? No, because I'm eating a ruminant cow that has multi-chambered stomach, and I am eating what they eat. Yes, we're off of but anyway, they're a ruminant animal, and so I'm going to stick with their muscle meat. I probably won't eat as much of their fat, but I'm not getting as much omega-6 from a ruminant animal as I would from a chicken. Do I eat chicken? No. Would I eat chicken? Yes. I love chicken. I love chicken. I love turkey, but they would have to be completely pasture raised for me to eat that chicken. Unless, of course, I only ate the breast. I will never eat the fat on a farm raised chicken or turkey. Okay. Don't eat the fat. Now it's full of whatever they ate. So the omega-6, the seed oils, they're full of seed oils. Um, where are you from? I'm from Iowa. Lucy says, I would stop the ramen noodles. True. Those are fake. My diet is mostly canned beans. Richard, get rid of the beans and eat canned meats only. Eggs, don't eat bread, and don't eat ramen noodles. Don't eat those things. Okay? Eat meat from a can. You can have cheese, but get rid of the beans. Okay. Mina says, my LDL is 150. My doctor asked me to have statins. What should I? I would want to know all of your other results. I don't know anything about you. Yeah, Lucy, I don't bring that information. Lucy says, I did not know you used red light. I have one, but use mostly on my back every morning. Perfect. I actually used it on Timber when Timber was going through back pain. I used one of my friends, another provider, she loaned me her Halo, and I rubbed it all over Timber's back most every day for it was all the month of November. No, it was all the month of like late September, early October of 2025. And then magically in the first part of November, he just started walking normal out of the blue. And again, I took him to, therapy and chiropractor, and we never did find out exactly what the cause is, but I used red light on him. And, when he would sit on my lap, I would just plug in the red light mask that I have and just lay it on his back. The halo is super deeper than the red mask, but yeah, I use the red mask on a lot of things, but mainly on my face and neck, face and neck. Um, Richard, I know they're high in salt, but right now those are the least. That's the least of your worries. I know that it can worsen the congestive heart failure, but if you lowered your insulin, get rid of all the carbs, if you lowered your insulin, your water would follow. So you're going to dump a bunch of water and salt. So actually you're going to need a little salt from that canned stuff, okay? I know it's the wrong kind of salt, but you have to understand the mechanism, Richard. If you got rid of all of your carbs, you're going to spill all of your insulin's going to go down and you're going to spill all of the pathologic water. You're going to start breathing so much better because you have fluid pooled everywhere. You can't breathe adequately enough. You get rid of that insulin and the water will just drop off you. That's pathologic. It's pathologic water. It's dangerous water on your body. You get rid of that and you'll start breathing. Your heart can function, it can beat. It's pumping against so much pressure. Colton, I don't know much about schizophrenia. I've never studied it. How about beef liver? Okay to eat? Absolutely, Richard. Beef liver, chicken liver, spleen, kidney, any organ, right, Lucy? Any organ. What kind of red light? I probably wouldn't get the one I have now. It's Olux, I believe. I don't have it sitting here. Olux or Lux, I can't remember. I think if I was going out right now and I was going to buy a new one, I would either get Cure or I would get the Rajani, Rajani. Rajani, Dr. Rajani makes a red light mask, and his actually covers face, neck, and décolleté. So I just think his LED bulbs, one, there's more of them on Dr. Rajani's, and I think on the Cure as well, but I'm not sure. Whereas mine, it seems like the LEDs are spaced out. The wavelengths are great, okay? The wavelengths are okay, but the amount of red light might be lacking on the one I have. So you want to make sure that you have all access. So all lights around your mouth, around your eyes. You want them everywhere. You don't want missing areas, okay? So you don't want you want a full coverage of the mask with LED lights. So Dr. Rajani's, I know they're expensive, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you, but you want to try to pick the best ones. Buying one on Amazon would not be in your best interest. They could say it's 840 wavelength and it might be 700. And which is doing you no good. Yeah, Richard, I know it's hard. I know that heart breathing is hard for you because I know that you probably have a bunch of water on your system, okay? Cheesehead says, can I do organ pills if I don't care to eat those? Yes. Get ancestral supplements or get heart and soil. Those are the most highly tested ones. Get the I would get the overall beef organ ones, the beef organ pills, but they do have just liver. They do have just spleen, but maybe you just need all of them. If you had an heme iron deficiency, I would say buy spleen. Okay, by spleen alone, just by spleen. All right, you guys, it's my birthday today, in case you didn't know that, and I'm going to go watch some softball, and I'm going to probably take a little nap if I fall asleep because I was so excited for today that I probably didn't sleep very good. So yeah, this day only happens once a year, so I'm going to enjoy it. It's still very, very sunny outside. I will definitely take a walk and get some sun on my skin for nitric oxide. And I want to thank you for the super chats, like Patrice. Patrice, again, thank you so much. That means a lot. And I am going to, I don't know, I'm just going to thank you. That just means a lot to me. Okay. Happy birthday. And what else am I going to do besides the walk and the sun on my skin to release nitric oxide and to relax, sit and just relax and probably not answer emails today. Okay. So for those of you who email me for a consultation, please give me some grace and maybe wait until Monday. Okay. And then I will get back to you. If you do sign up or want to sign up for a consultation and I don't reply to your email for some reason, email me again. A lot of times they go to spam. I might not catch them and they disappear. So, okay. You guys have a blessed day. And as a reminder, please read Matthew 5:16. Please read Matthew 5:16. Matthew 5:16. So May 16th, 5:16. I picked out Matthew. And in that, Jesus is talking about the salt and the light. And he says, he's talking, and Jesus is saying, be the light. So everybody can see. And that, if I were to die today and you guys are helping buy a tombstone for me, please put on there, please put on there, the best compliment that somebody could ever give me is that they could see Jesus in me. The best compliment that somebody could ever give was that they saw Jesus in me. Be the light, Matthew 5:16. And one other reminder, you guys, one other reminder. 1 Thessalonians 5:21 and 22. Test everything. Examine everything carefully. Hold fast to that which is true and abstain from that which is evil. Test everything, you guys. Test everything I'm saying. Test everything. Okay? So you guys have a blessed day. And thank you for everything. Thank you for being here on my special day. And we'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m.